Like and subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to watch informative videos. Muhammad Iqbal, the great poet of the East, the great poet of Urdu and Persian, the thinker of Pakistan, the national poet of Pakistan. Other languages. Download is PDF Monitor Amendment. Dr. Sir Allama Muhammad Iqbal, birth. The 9th of November 1877, died. The 21st of April 1938, was a well-known poet, writer, jurist, politician and one of the most important figures of the Pakistan movement of the 20th century. He used to write poetry in Urdu and Persian, and this is the main reason for his fame. The main trend in poetry was towards Sufism and revival of the Islamic Ummah. Also wrote a prose book in English called The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam. Allama Iqbal is considered as a modern Sufi. As a politician, his most prominent achievement is the formulation of the Pakistan theory, which he presented while presiding over a meeting of the Muslim League in Allahabad in 1930. This theory later became the basis for the establishment of Pakistan. For this reason, Allama Iqbal is considered as the ideological father of Pakistan. Although he did not see the establishment of this new country with his own eyes, he has the status of the national poet of Pakistan. A father's dream. Allama Iqbal's father Sheikh Nur Muhammad had a dream that Lak Wadak is the field. A white dove is circling the bright sky. Sometimes it descends so low that only now the fate of the earth wakes up, and sometimes it reaches such a height that it becomes a star and is connected to the sky. Meanwhile, many people are trying to catch him by raising their hands. Everyone is going crazy, but no one gets hold of it. After some time he suddenly dived and landed in my swing. An arc formed from heaven to earth. 1-2. When Sheikh Nur Muhammad woke up from this dream, he found his heart filled with the belief that God would grant him a son, who would make a great name in the religion of Islam. Family. Iqbal's father, Sheikh Nur Muhammad, was a descendant of the Supra Brahmins of Kashmir. One of his ancestors accepted Islam during the reign of Ghazi Aurangzeb Alamgir. Iqbal's ancestors migrated from Kashmir in late 18th century or early 19th century and came to Sialkot and settled in Mohalla Kishan. In every back one or the other there was such a necessity that only the heart led the way. These were also from the same heart. When the elders left Kashmir, they settled in Sialkot. Sheikh Nur Muhammad's father Sheikh Muhammad Rafiq settled a house in Mohalla Kadikan. Started the business of selling Kashmiri wools and deuces. It seems that he and Iqbal's father's younger brother Sheikh Ghulam Muhammad were born here, grow up. Later, Sahaj Ram Sapro Bazaar came up in Choragaran, which is now called Iqbal Bazaar. They took a small house and lived in it until they died. After the death of Iqbal's grandfather Sahaj Ram Sapro, Sheikh Nur Muhammad expanded the building by buying a two-story house and two shops adjacent to it. Birth. Iqbal was born on November 9, 1877, according to 3 Zul-Qa'dah 1294-3, in Sialkot, British India, in the house of Sheikh Nur Muhammad. His parents gave him the name Muhammad Iqbal. There have been some differences between different historians on the date of Allama's birth, but the government of Pakistan officially recognizes Iqbal's birth date as November 9, 1877. Early education. Sheikh Nur Muhammad was a pious man. Religious education was considered sufficient for the son. Sialkot often had friendly relations with local scholars. When Iqbal reached the age of Bismillah, he was taken to Maulana Ghulam Hassan. Maulana Abu Abdullah Ghulam Hassan used to teach in the mosque of Mahalla Shawala. Sheikh Nur Muhammad had to come and go there. Iqbal's education started from here. It started with the Holy Quran. This process continued for almost a year until Maulana Syed Mir Hassan, a famous scholar of the city, came here. I saw a child sitting and the first glimpse of greatness and happiness was shining from his face. He asked whose child it is. When he found out, he got up from there and walked towards Sheikh Nur Muhammad. Both were close acquaintances. Maulana emphasized that he should not confine his son to madrasa. Modern education is also very important for him. He expressed his desire that Iqbal should be given in his training for some days. Sheikh Nur supported Muhammad, but when the insistence of the other side increased, Iqbal was handed over to Mir Hassan. His school was near Sheikh Nur Muhammad's house in Kocha Mir Hosamuddin. Here Iqbal started studying Urdu, Persian and Arabic literature. 3 years have passed. Meanwhile, Syed Mir Hassan also started teaching in the Scotch Mission School. Iqbal also entered there, but the old routine remained in place. If they came from school, they would reach the teacher's service. Mir Hassan was the memory of those great teachers for whom life had only one purpose: reading and teaching. But this reading and teaching is not the name of mere book reading. In those good times, Ostad used to be a mentor. Mir Hassan also used to do the same. He was aware of all Islamic sciences, and had a good eye on modern sciences as well. Apart from this, he was also skilled in literature, reasoning, linguistics and mathematics. While teaching the students, they adopted literary colors so that the knowledge is not only locked in the memory but becomes a form of feeling. There were thousands of poems in Arabic, Persian, Urdu and Punjabi. If one poem were to be opened, 20 synonyms would be heard. Maulana had a lot of teaching engagements, but he did not study regularly. He was also a hafiz of the Quran and also a lover. He was called Shah Sahib among the students. There was a lot of human connection. He was a kind, simple, contented, humble, gentle, and cheerful elder. It was a daily routine to go to the graveyard after offering the Fajr prayer, recite Fatiha on the graves of loved ones and friends. When he finished, he would find the students waiting. The way back would be through listening and giving lessons. This process would continue even after reaching home, even before going to school. The students would stick together. Taught in school all day. In the evening, he would come home with the students, then the teaching would continue till night. He loved Iqbal very much. He himself was devoted to the teacher. Most of the elements that seem to be primarily driven in the overall formation of Iqbal's personality are the charisma of Shah Sahib's companionship and education. Syed Mir Hassan was very convinced of Sir Syed. Consider Aligarh movement is useful for Muslims under his influence. Love for Sir Syed also developed in Iqbal's heart, which lasted till the end despite some differences. The spirit of well-wishing of the Muslims was something of care Iqbal's house, but Mir Hassan's training gave this spirit an academic and practical direction. Iqbal was far ahead of his peers in understanding and intelligence. From his childhood, he had that independence and self-interest that is found in adults. But they were not bookworms. If a person becomes addicted to books, he becomes a mere mental being. A distance is created between life and it. The facts and experiences of life remain frozen in the mind, they do not become part of the warm blood. He was also fond of sports. He used to play pranks like children. There were many answers. Sheikh Nur Muhammad used to see all this but did not forbid it. Knew that in this way a familiarity and frankness with things is created which is very necessary and useful. Therefore, Iqbal's childhood was spent with a natural openness and spontaneity. Nature gave him a Sufi father and a learned teacher, with whom his heart and intellect became one, the goal of both became one. This is the reason behind Iqbal's rare combination of sense and thought. The facts, which the father's heartfelt grace had made him feel in brief, became known in detail from the teacher's teaching. At the age of 16, Iqbal passed the matriculation examination. I got the first division and got a medal and scholarship. Intermediate classes had also started in the Scotch Mission School, so Iqbal did not have to go anywhere else for FA. Thus, his affinity with poetry and poetry was evident from his childhood. Sometimes he used to adapt poetry himself, but he was not serious about it. He neither recited it to anyone nor preserved it. They would write and tear it up. But now poetry was not just a hobby for him, but it had become a requirement of the soul. At that time the entire subcontinent was buzzing with the name of Da. Especially his miraculous grasp of Urdu language was recognized by everyone. Iqbal needed a grip. A studentship application was written and accepted. But this series of reforms could not continue for long. Dag Jagat was the teacher. Of all the forms of Urdu poetry in United India, Das pen was at the forefront of their carving. But this color was new to them too. Although the distinguishing feature of Iqbal's speech had not appeared till then, but Da realized with his unparalleled insight that this diamond cannot be cut. He concluded by saying that there is no room for improvement. But Iqbal was always jealous of this short discipleship. The same was the case with the stain. Higher education. On May 6, 1893, Iqbal did matriculation, and in 1895, Iqbal did FA and came to Lahore for further education. Admitted to BA class in government college here and started living in hostel. He chose English, philosophy and Arabic subjects for himself. He studied English and philosophy in government college and went to Oriental College to study Arabic, where Maulana Faisal Hassan Saharanpuri was such an unparalleled teacher. Till that time, Oriental College Lahore was established in a part of the building of Government College itself, and mutual cooperation between the two colleges continued in relation to certain subjects. Iqbal passed his BA and got admission in MA Philosophy. This is where Professor T.W. Arnold came in handy, who went ahead and determined a final direction of Iqbal's academic and intellectual life. He took the MA examination in March 1899 and came first in Punjab. During this time, I continued to write poetry, but I did not go to musharas. One evening in November 1899, some unscrupulous classmates dragged him to a gathering at Hakim Aminuddin's house. A large number of well-endowed teachers, along with a large number of students, were present. There was also a crowd of listeners. Since Iqbal was a complete novice, his name was invoked in the age of beginners. He started reciting the ghazal, when he came to this poem. Chosen by the beauty of wisdom, pearls drops that were dead in activity. So the good teachers jumped up, helplessly started applauding. From here Iqbal's fame as a poet began. Bisurar started to be called in musharas. At the same time, the relationship with the Anjuman Support-e-Islam was born, which lasted till the end. He used to speak his words in his national and welfare meetings and create a bond among the people. Iqbal's popularity facilitated many functions of the Anjuman. At least among the Muslims of Punjab, the consciousness of religious unity began to arise at the social level, in which Iqbal's poetry played a fundamental role. After passing MA, Iqbal was appointed as MacLeod Arabic Reader in Oriental College on 13 May 1899. In the same year, Arnold was also temporarily appointed as the acting principal of the college. Iqbal stayed at Oriental College for about 4 years. However, he took a 6-month leave in between and taught English in a government college. Wanted to go to Canada or America for higher education, but chose England and Germany for this purpose at the request of Arnold. When Arnold went back to England in 1904, Iqbal felt his distance immensely. The heart was saying to fly and reach England. During his 4-year teaching tenure at the Oriental College, Iqbal summarized and translated Stubbs's Early Pleasances and Walker's Political Economy into Urdu, wrote a paper in English on Sheikh Abdul Karim al-Jili's theory of absolute monotheism. And he authored a short book in Urdu called Economics, which was published in 1904. It is one of the first books on its subject in Urdu. After his tenure as Arabic Reader in Oriental College ended, he was appointed as Assistant Professor of English in Iqbal Government College in 1903. Later moved to the field of philosophy. He continued to teach there until he took a 3-year leave to go to Europe on October 1, 1905. Further education and travel to Europe. On December 25, 1905, Allama Iqbal went to England for higher education and enrolled in Cambridge University Trinity College. Since they were admitted as research scholars in the college, they were not restricted to stay in the hostel like normal students. Arranged accommodation outside the college. He had just been here a little over a month and was admitted to Lincoln's Inn for the bar. And sought guidance from eminent teachers like Professor Brown. He later moved to Germany where he received his PhD in philosophy from the University of Munich. Sir Abdul Qadir was also here. At the same time, the Cambridge professors included rare and famous figures such as Whitehead, Meg Taggart, Ward, Brown and Nicholson. Iqbal's close relationship with Meg Taggart and Nicholson was strained, but with Nicholson he developed an equal friendship and frankness. However, Meg Taggart's majesty was also his age. He was much older than Iqbal, while there was no such difference in hearing with Nicholson. Meg Taggart taught the philosophy of Kant and Hegel at Trinity College. He himself was counted among the great philosophers of England. Brown and Nicholson were experts in Arabic and Persian languages. Going forward, Nicholson also translated Iqbal's Persian Masnavi, Asrar Qudi, into English, which, although Iqbal did not like it completely, but due to this, it partially introduced Iqbal's name and work to the literary and intellectual circles of English readers in Europe. Definitely done. Even after his return from England, Iqbal's correspondence with Mag Taggart and Nicholson continued. Arnold, who was not at Cambridge, taught Arabic at London University, but Iqbal visited him regularly. In every case, one would take a step only after taking their advice. At his request, P at the University of Munich, H registered for D. After receiving his BA from Cambridge, he moved to Heidelberg in July 1907 to learn German and prepare for the oral examination for his thesis at the University of Munich, which was held in that language. Spent 4 months here. Having already submitted his research paper entitled, Evolution of Metaphysics in Iran, an oral examination phase was still to come, which he passed even more red-handed. On November 4, 1907, the University of Munich awarded him a doctorate. In 1908, this paper was published for the first time from London. Attribution was to Arnold. He returned to London after receiving his doctorate. Preparation for barrister's final exam started. After a few months, all the exams were completed. On July 1908, the result came out. Declared successful. After that, they did not stay in England anymore, they returned home. During his stay in London, Iqbal also started a series of lectures on various topics, such as Islamic Sufism, the influence of Muslims on European civilization, Islamic democracy, Islam and human reason, etc. Unfortunately, there is no record of any of them. Once Arnold went on a long leave, Iqbal replaced him as professor of Arabic at London University for a few months in May 1908. When the British Committee of the All India Muslim League was inaugurated in London, Syed Amir Ali was elected as the president of the committee in a meeting and Iqbal was nominated as a member of the Majlis-e-Amila. At the same time, he decided to give up poetry, but on the advice of Arnold and his close friend Sheikh Abdul Qadir, he gave up this intention. Poetry in Persian also originated in this period. During his stay in Europe, 2 basic ideas of Iqbal started to change. Iqbal was inclined towards native nationalism and unity of existence. Now that gradient was turning into grays. Especially, they have become so against the idea of nationalism that it would be more correct to call it hatred. On reaching Europe, he got the opportunity to directly see the Western civilization and the various concepts driven in its spirit. He had never been fascinated by the West, neither before he went to Europe nor after he got there. Rather, without turning a blind eye to the intellectual, economic, political and psychological dominance of the West, he began to think in a wider circle to recover the previous rise of the Muslim Ummah in the global context. Even the hidden Buddhistness of Western thought and civilization was revealed to them. He left for his country in July 1908. He reached Delhi on the night of the 25th of July 1908 via Bombay. Teaching, advocacy and social services initially. After completing his MA, he taught at Oriental College, Lahore, but he permanently adopted barristery. Along with advocacy, he continued to write poetry and actively participated in political movements. In 1922, he received the title of Sir from the government. Iqbal was also the honorary president of the Anjuman Bakhti-Islam. In August 1908, Iqbal came to Lahore. After a month and a half, she started practicing in the Chief Court of Punjab. Only a few days had passed in this profession that M.O. College Aligarh was offered the professorship of philosophy in Government College Lahore, but Iqbal found lawyering suitable for him and resigned from both institutions. However, later, on the request and insistence of the Punjab government, he temporarily started teaching philosophy in the Government College Lahore from the 10th of May 1910, but at the same time continued to practice law. Gradually, the engagements increased. A number of organizations and associations were established. On March 18, 1910, Hyder Abad traveled to the Deccan. Iqbal's old friend Maulana Grami was already there. During this visit, a friendly ceremony was held with Sir Akbar Haidari and Maharaja Sir Kashan Parshad. Returned from Hyderabad on 23 March. Aurangzeb alighted at Aurangabad on his way to visit the tomb of Alamgir. Stayed there for 2 days. He reached Lahore on March 28, 1910 and again engaged in his routine Now it was becoming difficult to carry education and advocacy together. He finally resigned from the government college on December 31, 1910, but continued to be associated with the college in some capacity. Iqbal was associated with not only one government college but also many other universities of Punjab and subcontinent. Examiner of Punjab, Aligarh, Allahabad, Nagpur and Delhi University. Apart from this, Bait-Uloom Hyderabad also compiled papers on the history of Islam for the Deccan. Sometimes one had to go to Aligarh, Allahabad and Nagpur etc. to take the oral test. As an examiner, I had an unshakable rule that the door of recommendation was closed even to a dear friend. On March 2, 1910, he was nominated as a Fellow of Punjab University. Lala Ram Parshad, Professor of History, Government College Lahore compiled a syllabus book, Hind History, which was published in 1913. Later he was also a member of Oriental and Arts Faculty, Senate and Syndicate at various times. In 1919, he was made the Dean of the Oriental Faculty. In 1923, he became a member of the Academic Council of the University. In the same year he was also appointed to the Professorship Committee. He had resigned from the Education Council due to his immense commitments. But the Vice-Chancellor of the University Sergeant Maynard did not let him go. There was so much insistence from this side that he withdrew his resignation. During this time he was also a member of the Punjab Textbook Committee. He compiled a Persian textbook for matriculation students, Aina Ajam, which was published in 1927. Therefore, Iqbal remained associated with Punjab University until 1932. Death Allama Muhammad Iqbal died on 21 April 1938 at dawn on 20th Safar al-Masfar 1357 at his home Javed Manzil due to prolonged illness and was buried at the site of Badshahi Masjid in Lahore. Like and subscribe to our channel and also press the bell icon to watch informative videos.